This is Absolute Radio Frank, celebrating Frank Skinner's 60th birthday.
I've had a terrible week, I'll be honest. I've had one of the worst weeks ever.
What? Why?
Well, I went away to Brighton with my girlfriend for the week, and we argued.
Oh, that sounds dreadful.
No, it sounds lovely. It was a beautiful setting. The weather was great. The sun-kissed beaches, the beautiful sea splashing against the pebbles. But we argued for 3 days, full stop. I mean, we argued and argued. It was like we'd suddenly decided to bring out a greatest hits album of our arguments. We had arguments that we haven't had since 2002. And it was like listening to a greatest hits. So you thought, oh, God, I forgot all about this argument. Yeah, this is a good argument. I haven't listened to it for years. And isn't it weird that you remember all the words?
Absolute Radio Frank.
So I've had the most bone-idle, lazy week I've had for many a long... when I was a kid, we used to say occasionally, why don't you come round my house tomorrow and we'll have a DOS, right? And having a DOS meant we'll do nothing. And we actually made an appointment to do nothing. Come round, Aaron. We can get to so-and-so in the morning, but on the afternoon we'll just have a DOS. And just meant we sat around and did nothing. That's what I've done all week. I've just had a DOS.
Absolutely. What have you done, like watch telly and things?
Yeah, I've got a beanbag, a corduroy beanbag, a massive corduroy beanbag I've got. I'm not bragging. And I lay on that for some of it. I did other things, but mainly I lay on that and watch daytime television and films, football, cricket. Oh, man.
Did you find yourself getting very into daytime TV as well? Like agreeing with Lorraine Kelly?
I got very into corduroy. It was like, when you rub your fingertips together after a very long bath. That's what corduroy is like, I've discovered.
So you used to arrange to do nothing?
Yeah.
Because isn't nothing just the default state? Isn't nothing what you're doing before you do something?
Well, I'm liking the way this is going. I'm not totally with him, but I'm liking the way it's going. Because there's too much stuff on radio about, I see my daughter as a doll. There's too much like that. I like people about talking about nothing.
Default state.
Actually, they talk about nothing quite a lot on radio, come to think of it, but never in this kind of high-blown philosophical way. I'll give you an example of my nothingness. Okay. I watched This Morning... right? And they had the world's tallest man on, who's been everywhere this week. I mean, he's
very ubiquitous.
Well, he is, yes. I think he's Hungarian. But he was on. He's 8'8", apparently, which is just...
That's very tall.
Oh, it's ridiculous. And they didn't even point out his ridiculousness. But he's a very tall Hungarian man. And they said they had him on, and they did the thing, they made him stand next to a tape measure. He spends his whole life standing next to a measure. He's like he's someone from The Usual Suspects. Obviously, he'd be a very unusual suspect. I think a life of crime's not an option for the world's tallest man.
No.
Can you describe him? Yeah, he's about 8'8". I think we've got him.
Absolute Radio Frank.
Yeah, so we went to the pantomime. I went mainly because Mickey Rooney was in it. Do you know Mickey Rooney?
Mickey Rooney from Pete's Dragon.
Was he in Pete's Dragon?
He's in Pete's Dragon.
I didn't know he was in Pete's Dragon.
Frank and I remember him more from the 1940s when we were young.
Exactly. I remember him with Judy Garland.
Yeah.
The Andy Hardy films.
Yeah.
Oh, they're not plugged often enough on Absolute Radio. I always think, what, not a show with no Andy Hardy mention? I often say at home.
Mickey's now 89.
He is 89, and fair play to him, he looks it.
Yeah.
You see some 89-year-olds only look about 87.
He certainly looked it when you started shouting out, Rooney, Rooney.
I've got to encourage him at that age.
Absolute Radio Frank.
Rod Gilbert hasn't gone. We couldn't get rid of him.
I was supposed to leave. We said goodbye, didn't we?
I hate it when you say the big goodbyes and then people stay.
Oh, it's so embarrassing, isn't it?
It's like when you've met someone on holiday and you do a big emotional farewell at the airport, and then they're at the taxi rank next to you. Oh, you don't know what to... I don't want to speak to them now.
I know you said goodbye to me in the last link, but I thought it's raining out there, and I've got up early for this. After 2 hours sleep, I'm staying around.
Well, you didn't get up that early.
Plus, you've been bombarded with texts and messages asking me to stay.
We had one.
We did that. We had one. Yeah,
we had one, Rod.
Yeah, but it was from somebody important.
Yes, you. Don't think we didn't notice. Now, we should say there is a message. There's a message. We have a whiteboard in the studio where, you won't believe this, but they've written 8, 12, 15, so I don't forget the text number, right, because I have done before. But underneath it, what does that say, Rod?
It says, Bore da Rod, Croeso, Golden Square, Cariad, Polly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we've switched all the letters round.
Have I got to make sense of that? It means good morning, Rod. Welcome to Golden Square. Love, Polly.
That's nice.
Isn't that nice?
nice.
And I didn't notice that until, well, just now.
Now, I said to these two this morning, wouldn't it be brilliant to do a Rod Gilbert interview where we don't mention Wales at all? But I don't think it worked, did it? I don't think it
Well,
quite
you
worked.
came very close, though.
Yeah.
Because this isn't the interview, this is the post-interview
No,
chat.
this is the interview annex.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This is the appendix to the
See
interview.
what we
It's fine.
could do now? We could... The appendix?
Yeah.
You're fired. That would be good, wouldn't it? If it was a programme about having your appendix.
How do they fire people before they've even employed them? Have you wondered that?
Yeah, that's a very good
Point.
Yeah. You can't. Surely that's against some kind of EU employment. You can't just look
also-
at somebody in an interview and go, "You're fired." I haven't even got the job yet. You can't. Maybe I didn't even want it.
Could you claim redundancy pay?
I don't know. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I'll take
true,
my
though.
holiday pay woman. Yeah.
That is-
I don't know. It's weird, isn't it? That.
Well, the cart's before the horse on that programme. You're not hired. It's not quite as punchy, though, is
Don't call us. We'll call you.
it? Or if you suddenly go, well, we're seeing some other people. We'll get in touch with you by next Tuesday. I mean, that would be a rubbish catchphrase.
It's not catchy enough, is it? It's not brutal enough or catchy enough.
It's not punchy. That's the trouble with it.
Absolute Radio Frank.
Ross Noble is in
Hello.
the studio. Good morning.
Hi.
Anyway, so you've got a TV show.
I do have a TV show coming out, yes.
What's that? What's
It's,
that like? What's that like?
Oh, good Lord. What happened there? Did Ant and Deck possess your body? You're over it.
I'd say it was 70% Ant, 3% Deck.
Yeah.
It's a version of The Fly. You know, The Fly with
Yeah, Jeff Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum.
Yes.
Your TV show.
I've got a TV show, yeah. It starts
based on The Fly with Jeff Goldblum.
It is, that's exactly what it is.
What a coincidence.
It's me being swatted by a selection of celebrities.
Can I come on?
You know what? There's shows like that people would watch. If it was just like celebrity swatting. Like I came up with a show once, right? And it was called Vanessa Feltz Fights a Pig, right?
Right.
And it was basically just half an hour of Vanessa in a leotard fighting a live pig, right?
Right.
And there's no like nobody votes, nobody gets voted on or off. There's no sort of, you know, there's no high concept to it. It's literally just her, not even an audience, just a barn, just an open, just an open farmyard.
No
And just-
rules?
No rules at all. Just, but one of those big pigs, you know, those massive, you know, those big like hog things.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just Vanessa just punching, you know, pig in the headlock, and the pig's lying on her for a bit, and it's just and like I said,
Pig
you
in a
know-
headlock sounds like a meal, doesn't it? It's like
Yeah.
Toad in the hole.
Toad in the hole.
Absolute Radio Frank.
It says my list of things about Sarah Millican. She can do a good honking car horn.
do you want to hear it? Is that what it says?
Yeah.
Is that on like my CV?
That's
awesome.
basically it.
It's actually the only thing I can do, yes.
It just says that, and the fact you're on to plug your tour in October.
Okay, are you ready?
Okay.
Oh, that's brilliant.
That is good.
Thank you.
One
Yes.
more time.
But my friend bought me a bike horn for no reason whatsoever, and I used to squeeze it. And whenever anybody said something funny around us and I couldn't be bothered to respond, I would just back at them. And then I thought, well, this is no good because I'm going to have to carry this with us. So instead, I just learned how to do it over months. Just practiced in the house on my own. That sounds quite tragic
Have
now.
you ever tried levitation?
No. Do you think that's the next step?
I think
is
it can.
that what happened with David Copperfield? He started off just doing a car horn noise, a bike horn, and then he started levitating.
Well, I think you know, when I noticed when you did the car horn, you actually
How to
reached
do
and
that?
squeezed it.
Yes.
Well, I think that David Copperfield's was set a little higher than yours. And as he reached up to squeeze it, he suddenly noticed he was 3 feet from the floor.
Wow, that must have been a good day.
That could have happened to anyone. So, you're off to Australia soon.
Yes, in the middle of March.
Have you
for
done for the Melbourne Festival?
Yes.
Are you a fan of Australia?
Yes, I went there last year and did the festival for the first time, and it went really well. And it was fun. I was a bit annoyed that I couldn't cuddle a koala. I'd been told that this was almost obligatory when you step into the country, but in the state of Victoria, it's not allowed. You're allowed to look at them, but you're not allowed to cuddle them. So I'm going to have to go out of the state because I just really want to cuddle a koala.
Well, I have to say, when I was there, they told me this, and we went to this place where there was koalas, and I said to the guy, look, you know, I'd really love to cuddle a koala. And he said, oh, well, you know, the thing is, mate, so they've all got chlamydia.
Oh.
And I said, that's lucky, so have I. So we got nothing to lose. And I got to hold and I've got the picture. I'm wearing an England football shirt, and the black claws of the koala are just hooked on the slightly raised badge. He's just getting a bit of purchase on the England badge. It's a great...
Was it nice and furry?
It was a bit coarse.
Oh.
Yeah, they're supposed to smell quite bad as well, but I don't mind. I've had boyfriends, it's fine.
Well, it was.
Why
They
exactly?
smell of eucalyptus because they eat.
Oh, well, so it'll keep your sinuses clear.
Exactly. Yeah, it's
That's
a
the
bit
main
like it's a
thing.
bit like hogging an old age pensioner who's been on the Hall's mentholyptus lozenges.
Absolute Radio Frank.
I was in a cafe with a bloke and he called the waiter up. It's an Italian place,
Yeah.
admittedly, and he said, "Can we have a due cappuccini?" Well, I mean, shut
don't
your
like
face. I didn't want it after that. I could have threw it at him right into his.
I don't like it when people get words wrong, though.
No. My mum does a lot of these. My mum says halloumi cheese. She calls it halimi.
Okay.
It's not that
Greek sort of
bad.
cheese. Well,
No, why don't you just leave her alone? I mean, she's 98.
Not as bad as that bloke who
She
said to me.
speaks to a machine. I mean, give her a chance. Could be a fault in that. Have a look at that. Look at that keyboard.
she doesn't talk to a machine. That's
Doesn't
just her
she?
voice.
Oh, okay, sorry. I don't know where I got that from. I just imagine she might talk through a machine. Doesn't make her a bad person. If she did, if there's anyone listening who talks to a machine, respect to you.
She uses
That's
a
right.
telephone sometimes.
Well, there you go then.
So
Don't call me a liar and then back me up in the same breath. Well, maybe not the same breath, but well, you know what I mean. My dad used to talk about the writer Somerset Maugham instead of Somerset Maugham. And he also used to say etiquette instead of etiquette. Yeah, you could do with learning a bit of etiquette, he used to say to me. We used to laugh. We used to sit at home, sawdust on the floor, 2 or 3 bull terriers slumbering at the fireside.
And the Whippet Shep.
Yeah, the whippet was called Cal.
Oh, that was Cal,
Shep was a
sorry.
Staffordshire Bull Terrier.
Oh,
I don't want to
excuse
go through
me.
my entire dog list on here. I ate a dog list on morning radio.
Absolute Radio Frank.
So if you're doing a tour with 97 shows...
I said this last time and I'll say it again. You're the only person in Britain who has 2 syllables for tour.
Yeah. Anyway,
You know, you're on tour.
you're on tour, yeah. and
Oh, that's a good impression, Lee. I like that.
I know. I spent a lot of time with Frank.
so, were you not tempted to add the other 3 and make it around 100? Because that would have been a good publicity thing, wouldn't it? That
The 100.
Lee Max 100.
I hadn't even thought of that. But now, I am so annoyed at myself for not doing that now. I'm not
But you
gonna-
could add 3 gigs.
Yeah, but it's not the same now, is it? All the publicity's gone out. Spent a fortune on advertising.
Well, you can always come back on and say, guess what? I'm doing 3 other gigs.
Do you know I'm so addled with I'm so obsessed with darts. If anyone ever says a number now, I always think of it as a checkout. Like when you said 100 then, I immediately thought treble 20 tops. and when you said 97, in my head I was thinking treble 19 tops. So as long as it's a finish, I don't mind.
Well, that's because you have the most working-class pedigree of any comic that's ever lived. Can I just read this out from
It's the
the...
most backhanded compliment I've ever
Listen
had in my
to,
life.
listen to this. As a kid, lived above a pub in Blackburn. After leaving school, he worked in a bingo hall
Yeah.
and as a stable boy, and then became a blue coat at Pontins.
Yeah, you forgot. Hang on, you haven't mentioned the clock factory.
Have you arrived in a time machine from that? You've been doing music all
I've had an old school upbringing into showbiz, haven't I?
You certainly have.
Yeah, the Pontins, bit of bingo calling.
So living above the... Is that where the darts thing came in, living above
Darts
the
and
pub?
pool. I used to stand on a stool. I wanted to be a professional darts player. I spent a year once on the dole playing darts 10 hours a day.
10 hours?
I was obsessed. You know, you've often told your stories and stuff about your drinking. Right?
Yes.
About it was your obsession.
Yes.
We'll replace that with darts. That was my thing.
Well, darts is better for you, I think.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Well, yeah.
Well, the two are
Although
often
it
linked.
goes quite hand in
Yeah.
hand.
Oh, they're not true,
But what it
yeah.
was I got really good. I really did. I got I was practicing all day. And then I joined a pub team, and I went to pieces. I couldn't play in public, and I came to the conclusion that every time I would throw in my bedroom, I'd get on the bed, walk across, take the darts out the board, walk off the bed. So I was spending all day up on the bed, off the bed. So I couldn't play without the bed in front of me. So I thought if I could take the bed to the pub and just put it in front of the dartboard and replicate the home situation. But apparently that's not in the rules. You're not
No,
allowed
you
to-
can't. You can't
put-
replicate. I mean, I think you'll find you get nothing in this game for 2 in a bed.
Absolute Radio Frank.
And relax. I've had my hair cut. You know, I'm quite pleased with it.
Yeah,
I
I like it.
I actually went in and the woman said, "What would you like?" And I said, "I'm thinking early Morrissey." And she was quite young, Australian. I thought she won't know who Morrissey is, and she said, "Yeah, that's the look at the moment." And I thought, well, I'm liking the sound of it being the look. So that's what I've
I
gone
like
for.
it, Frank. It looks quite military.
Yes, well, short back and sides always does. There's an element of Poor House about it, but it's. But I tell you what I like. I said because I've learnt now what I need, and I say clippers on 3 all the way around. So
What does
that's
that
the
mean?
setting.
Really short?
That's the setting.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Well, it means it looks like this.
Oh, okay.
And she started really going at it, and it's a great thing when the hair's dropping off you with the clippers. It's a very...
Tell me about it.
Yeah, you can see why sheep have that contented smile on their faces, because it's lovely to feel it, just to feel all the hair coming off. And I said, it's great, isn't it, with the clippers to just go at it. She said, yeah. She said, I'd love to do this to my dad, but I don't think he'd let me. And I thought...
Oh.
Just a minute. What do you mean? I looked at this to my dad. Like, obviously I'm somebody's dad who's thinking, he's still trying to relive his youth. And I'm sitting there in the chair now, abused, I felt.
How old was this creature?
Oh, she was probably, I'd probably say early 20s.
Oh, how very dare
Oh, I
she?
wish I could do this to my dad, she said. Yeah, the clippers were a bit, they sounded a bit like that. Yeah. But they were listening in there. They were listening to Absolute 80s, which, in case you don't know, Absolute... They have a whole string of other channels behind our backs going on. With no DJs as well, almost as if they're moving towards that as an ideal. Anyway, Absolute 80s, as you might guess, is for people in their 80s. There's a lot of Lonnie Donegan on there. And,
It's my favourite.
yeah, and a lot of stuff about the war.
They keep replaying the abdication speech, don't they?
There was some quite disparaging stuff about Hitler I thought was unnecessary. And the jingle is the sound of a doodle bug, which apparently sends the poor listeners into paroxysms of fear. Anyway, they had Absolute 80s. Now, there is a song, there is probably one song I can think of that whenever it's played, I have to dance. And I mean, I have to dance. And it came on in the shop, and I thought, oh, no. This was before I got into the chair. It's that one, don't leave me this way.
Oh, Blonsky beat.
I can't survive. If I've gone slightly off mic, it's because I'm dancing.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and I don't sing along with it, because, but I do have to dance, right? And I thought, I can't dance in here. There's, it's early in the morning. The other people in there that look sullen. And I did that dancing sitting down that you do, like when you're at a club.
Oh, shuffling in your seat.
Yeah, when my feet were moving all over the place, but I was still seated. I found it made me, if anything, more agile that I was sitting, because I did things with my feet I couldn't have done if I was standing, unless I was wearing one of them jetpacks like Roger Moore. I think we'll have some adverts, and then I'll tell you what happened to me when I bought a watch. You won't believe it.
Absolute Radio Frank.
So we had a bit of a works outing this week, I think it's fair to say.
Oh, I loved it.
We went to the Union Chapel in the north of London to see E. John, as I always call him.
Eltonia.
Elton, yeah. I always think he must get letters to Mr. E. John. I don't know why, but I like that idea.
Maybe they're just Dear John.
Yeah, Dear John letters
Yeah,
he gets.
that's what he
it's
gets.
a bit formal, isn't it? Perhaps from someone who was in the year above him at the school. Because he wasn't called that then, he was called Reg Dwight. That's his real name. Yes. So,
It was
I
a
always
busy
think
evening,
that
wasn't it?
I always think that about Candle in the Wind. If Marilyn Monroe had been alive, wouldn't she have thought, why do you have to use my old name? Use my proper name. If I wrote a tribute to him, saying, oh, Reg Dwight, you may lack things in height, but not in talent. If he'd say, well, use that name. The bit
I
I
don't
hate,
think that's a problem they'd have with that.
oh, really? The worst. I think. I mean, he was brilliant. We should establish. He was
ever
amazing.
so
He
good.
was amazing.
It was just him and a piano, and no band or anything.
What I like, Frank, is that you and I were so shocked at how he could sing so well. We both went, his voice is
He
great.
plays the piano really well. It
Yeah.
took me 40 years to work out that Elton John can sing and play the piano. Could you believe that? And I'll tell you something else. He's 60. Good head of hair.
Aye.
Lustrous. I mean, lustrous.
Absolute Radio Frank.
I went to the doctor this week, and turns out I've got ringworm. Now, I know what you're thinking, but it's not a worm.
Is it contagious?
It's not contagious. Well, actually, it could be, because he said to me, I said, look, I've got this thing on my arm. It's, I won't show it you now. I'm not taking off my...
Oh, okay, don't show it to me ever.
I thought people... I like to see a scab of any kind. Anyway, it was... he said to me, he said, have you got a horse? I said, well...
He didn't.
He did. That was his first question to me, have you got a horse? I thought maybe, it was I thought, is it a tube strike? He's looking for a lift.
Did he think you're Prince Charles?
Yeah, exactly. I hope not.
Well, I've heard about ringworm. I think wrestlers get it. It's very common amongst wrestlers.
Wrestlers get it?
Yeah. Honestly, there's
right?
a lot of skin-on-skin contact and abrasions.
It looks like a small red rosette on my arm, which is why I think he might have been asking about the horse.
Oh,
Maybe he thought I'd turned up, I was something of a braggart. And I'd turned up with a couple of trophies I'd won at Therese and Jim Carner.
Absolute Radio Frank.
I have a girlfriend, as you may know. She's called Kath. People who listen will know that I mention her occasionally. Kath has a habit of saying things not quite correctly.
Yeah,
so she
I'm familiar with this.
Yes, she says, old adages and proverbs. But she once said to me, you know what they say? Jack would eat no sprat. And this week, she was on about something she'd been to. She said, it was like pulling blood. Which, if you think, would be incredibly difficult, unless it was in canisters of some kind. But my favourite, she was talking about someone she'd spoken to. She said, so I said to him, and she'd confronted someone about something. She said, you should have seen him. He was like a fish in headlights. And she's not joking as well. That's what I don't understand about it. I'm just trying to explain what, the nature of our love. And also, I walked into work with her this week, and she looked proper cold. She always wears a scarf. She wasn't wearing a scarf. It was a freezing cold morning. I said, why aren't you wearing a scarf? Have you lost it? She said, no. She said, I've got these spots on my neck. I'm trying to freeze them out. That's not medically possible, is it?
Unless it's like verrucas.
I don't
you freeze them with liquid nitrogen, don't you?
Can you get verrucas on your neck? Besides, it wasn't.
Oh, this is a nice Valentine's topic.
Yes. I don't... yes, also, it wasn't so cold as, liquid nitrogen cold.
No,
I mean, imagine the walk to work to liquid nitrogen. It'd be like the beginning of a Uriah Heep gig.
Absolute Radio Frank.
Don't mix April Fool's pranks with PMT.
Oh, dear.
It's a very, very dangerous cocktail, right? And what happened was, when I got up on whatever morning it was it Thursday morning, April Fool's Day?
Yeah.
But anyway, I got up. I told my girlfriend that I'd been offered a series on Channel 4 with Gok Kwan.
That is quite a good April Fool.
In which, I suppose a lot of you listening tried the same thing on your girlfriends. And I said it was called Would You Wear That?
Did you really say this?
Honestly, yeah. And I said it was a programme in which I went out into the streets of Britain with Gok Kwan and I wore a series of elaborate avant-garde outfits. And I said I'd been offered 40 episodes. 40? I thought that'll swing it, surely. Well, when I told her at first I'd been offered an episode with Gok Kwan, she said, he's quite, he's quite in at the moment, Gok Kwan. I thought, oh, God, this isn't going at all well. Then she went into the other room, and of course, with the PMT, she then came out saying, God, I can't believe that! It's going to be so humiliating. He completely flipped. And she got so angry and aggressive about the fact that I was... Because I was saying, I think it's a really good... I'm going to say yes, I better tell you. And my manager's all for it.
I love the idea of you in, some Harlequin's outfit.
Exactly, yeah, in Oldham. In a shopping centre in Oldham. And him saying, oh, go down there, Frank. And I say, hold on, you're standing on my pantaloons. So anyway, she got so angry about the fact that I was doing Would You Wear That with Gok Kwan.
You think it's a real programme now? You're talking about...
I was frightened to tell her it was a joke.
No.
So I left her. We left.
Did you ring Channel 4 and say you're going to have to commission it?
Well, she actually mentioned to someone at Channel 4 that I was doing it. And they said, really? I hadn't heard about that. Oh. She found her mother and said, I think she said, I think I might have to split up with Frank. He's going to absolutely humiliate us. We left home together. We walked in to work together, and she suddenly said, I think I've left the iron on, and went in the opposite direction.
Absolute Radio Frank.
I'm not making this up.
Attacked by a squirrel.
Yes, that's it. That's you've summed up the complete the complete event in exactly the same words that I did. She was walking through St James's Park in central London, and with a friend, Carmen, and this squirrel encircled her leg on the way up. You know, they'd run round a tree trunk, went round. Not that my girlfriend's legs are anything like a tree trunk. Can I mention
Not
that?
remotely like tree trunks. Very
There was
legs.
once that tawny owl that used to live in her behind. Anyway, so he encircled her leg going up, and then he sort of hung from one of her buttocks by his claws.
Really?
Yeah, she got proper scratches on her legs. It was, yeah.
Are you sure these are from a squirrel, Frank? Did you believe
Oh, God, I
this
hadn't
story?
thought of that. You think she could be seeing some sort of, I'm going to say the word dwarf on the side. Is that what you're suggesting? Oh, no, I hadn't thought of that. So you've got to be so careful now. I'll have to hire some sort of private detective and all that. Maybe I could get a weasel in one of those, like, trench coat. No, she had to. She was supposed to go for a tetanus, but her theory was that its claws would have been clean because it's snowing, so they would have somehow been sterilised. Oh, she's worked it all out.
Absolute Radio Frank.
I'd already had an argument with my girlfriend just before New Year because she wouldn't hula hoop. My girlfriend's sister
You're so
hula hoop.
demanding.
Yeah, but, you know...
What do you mean with an actual hula hoop?
What do you think with? No,
I thought it might have
wanted
been a
her to hula hoop
crisp-based
with a
thing.
burning Triumph Toledo.
So why did you want her to hula hoop?
Well, because I have this thing. I see New Year's...
Fetish thing.
When it actually becomes New Year, I see it as a bit like St Swithin's Day. You know, if it rains on St Swithin's Day, it rains for 40 days and 40 nights,
Right.
apparently. Well, I always think if New Year isn't perfect, if that moment of midnightness isn't absolutely perfect, it'll be a terrible year in which horrible
I'm a bit
things...
with you on that.
So, my girlfriend's sister hula hooped, and we videoed her. You know, she's quite good at it. And then I hula hooped.
That sounds a bit creepy.
Well,
Why did you video her hula hooping? It's weird.
So we could celebrate that we'd gone into the new year in high spirits.
Watching a lady hula hooping.
She's
Weird.
not a lady. She's my girlfriend's sister, for goodness sake. So, and then I hula hooped, and I must say I hadn't hula hooped that well over the holiday up until that point. But once the video went on, I hula hooped like there was no tomorrow. That's all I needed was a bit of incentive. But then I said to Kath, come on, we're all hula hooping, what fun we're having, come on, Greg. She said, oh no, I feel a bit sick. And I said, well, that's typical of you, isn't it? Hey, I asked you to hula hoop, but I feel a bit sick, Why didn't you just hula hoop? And that didn't go that well either.
Absolute Radio Frank.
Did I ever tell you that Judi Dench, I was once having my photo taken outside the Ivy, which is quite a sort of posh restaurant in London.
If you're going to get it done anyway, do it there.
Yeah, well, it was a press thing. It wasn't just a friend doing my photo. A car pulled up and Dame Judi Dench got out. And as she went past, I heard her say, I thought this place was for celebrities.
She didn't.
She
She
did.
zinged you. You got zinged by Dame Judy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she's got
I
that
didn't
look.
know she had it in her.
Oh, yeah, she's got that look about her, don't you think?
Oh, she's turned.
She's
I
got-
love it.
Wow.
She's a woman very at home with a grimace.
I hope you fired something back like that.
No, I was taken aback. To be cut down by Judi Dench. I mean, for goodness sake.
She trampled you underfoot by the sounds of
Yeah,
it.
but she looks like that. I mean, in the Bond film, she looks...
Yeah.
I tell you what she looks like. That the director says, OK, Dame Judy, we're just getting ready for this take now. And she'll say, OK, and she'll get Karen. And a personal assistant will come over with a silver tray with a shot glass full of malt vinegar. She just knocks that back and then her face is in there. James, you're not making this any easier. That horrible pinched face
Yeah,
of
yeah.
hers. Pinched. Anyway, it's not her. It's not her. It's
Well, I'm
Susie.
glad to hear it
Yeah.
after her
Well, you
appalling
could have got her
behaviour.
back. You could have got her back, though.
So,
couldn't
so it's Susie Dent.
In a way, I just did. But
She's a well-known. She's a lexicographer.
I've heard that. No, she's married with 2 kids.
Absolute Radio Frank.
I wore short trousers till I was 11.
Right.
And, well, actually, come to think of it, mainly as a kid, I wore a cowboy outfit for, I'd say, the first 6 or 7 years of my life. I mean, you know, I
didn't know you were quite that old.
Yeah, I
Come back to the
Yeah.
old
Yeah.
West Midlands.
I was in Arizona in the 1860s. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We used to see Wild Bill on his way to work in the morning.
Did you
Regular
genuinely?
clockwork.
Did you genuinely, Frank? Would you just put that on as your clothes every day?
that was my clothes.
Didn't an adult stop you?
No, I think it was just accepted then. You know, I didn't have that many clothes. It would stop me wearing out the other things. So I had a cowboy outfit until I was like 9. And then, as I've mentioned on the show before, my mum made me a Batman outfit. So
don't! I can't bear the poignancy of that. With is that the wellies one?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, we had wellies.
So I essentially,
Jeans.
swimming trunks over jeans.
Oh, I can't bear it.
And a grey jumper with the. But I essentially wore fancy dress until I was 11.
Absolute Radio Frank.
I think I was quite a lonely child, looking back. I used to get, like, a couple of cowboys. I always used to do it over the sink for some reason. I felt the sink was partially my area.
Right.
Yeah. I was a serial vomiter as a child. And you don't want that around soft furnishings.
A lot of children play in their bedroom, and you opted for
He played in the
I
sink.
couldn't blame it. It was bitterly cold in my bedroom. We used to get ice on the inside of our windows in the bedroom.
Yeah.
I'm not.
And you had
kidding
our
with you.
Keith sleeping off a hangover often.
Well, yeah. And our Terry.
And not Terry.
There was a time they were both heavy drinkers, and the three of us was in the same room.
Oh, right.
I couldn't lift that bucket. Anyway.
So let's cut to you.
Yeah, so
in the scullery with the soldiers.
Yeah, so I'd have the cowboy. I might have 3 or 4 cowboys standing around in a circle, and then we'd just have long conversations. No action at all. With me saying things like, what I thought was like general cowboy parlance. Like, I walked into a cactus. Yes, they're a hazard. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Yeah, for hours, like that. It was
sort of cowboy coffee morning.
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna ride out to Tombstone later on? I don't know. I mean, you know, it's been very dry, the weather of late, and I find that there's a lot of dust coming up off the trail. It gets on my chest. I don't know about you. It was like that. And also, there was, for hours. And also, I have to confess to this, there was little or no integration. I used to, my Red Indian soldiers, they'd have their own separate sessions where they talked about, in a similar mundane fashion, in a black country accent, about things like, the central strut on my teepee. Does it look very safe?
They didn't do much fighting then.
No. I don't remember them ever fighting, actually. I think they were too deeply ensconced in general chit-chat.
Segregation and coffee mornings.
It sounds like you were a sort of scriptwriter in waiting, because that would build the tension, wouldn't it? That's like almost like modern films, isn't it?
It was like an art house title.
There must be a fight coming soon, because look, they're discussing the banal.
I could happily now sit and play with Thai cowboys and Indians for a couple of hours on my own.
Well, that was evident.
Yeah, and who's to say that I don't?
Absolute Radio Frank.
Did I ever tell you about the worst name dropping I ever had in my life?
No, what was it?
I was due to have singing lessons. Can you believe this?
Yeah.
It was a gift, and not my voice.
No, certainly not your voice.
And I was being taught by a woman called Tona de Brett. You can imagine.
Did she say much obliged? I bet she did.
Oh, but she was nervous. She was very good. Do come in. How lovely to see you. And she was like that. And someone says she's a lovely woman, Tona, but she's the biggest name dropper you will ever meet in your life. And I got to the house. I knocked on the door, and there was a bit of a struggle to open the door, and she said, "Oh, I'm terribly sorry, this door's never been the same since Benny Hill used it for a sketch." I thought, I haven't got in yet, let me get in before you start name dropping.
Absolute Radio Frank.
Tremendous news this morning, I'm wearing a singlet.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't never wear a singlet, someone gave me one, I'm going to show it. There it is.
Unbutton, why don't you?
Yeah, I wore a cherub vest when I was about 4, but I don't think I've worn one since then.
Why have you gone for the singlet?
Well, I can't tell you, because something happened to me yesterday which left me a little sore.
Me too. Me too, but anyway, on with the story.
Let's not go into that, it's because you are a singlet. Singlet would be quite a nice name for someone who hasn't got a partner, wouldn't it?
It's done already, I love it.
Isn't that...
You're very clever.
Okay, marvellous. Or unless if Natalie Portman became single, well, of course she'd be a signet.
Oh.
Right. Oh, God, I'm absolutely on fire this morning. Can you smell that? Oh, no, it's the control desk.
Absolute Radio Frank.
I've had terrible news this morning. Poirot has been pulled.
Oh, no.
Poirot's been pulled. I'm going to write a sort of Bob Dylan. Poirot's been pulled. Broken my heart. Poirot's been pulled. I'm falling apart. Oh, Mrs. Moustache, and his accent so fine. Poirot's been pulled, and I'm losing my mind. Can you believe I just made that up? You can. Many people can. People are not
If it was a
quibbling.
different kind of show, I'd want to give you a round of applause.
I'm glad
it
you
was
didn't.
so good.
I'm glad for that. It just fell off me like windfall fruit falling from a tree. And some of it was a bit brown and squidgy, I think you'll have noticed. Now, I knew the lady, well, I still know the lady who did makeup for David Suchet.
Oh, how long does it take to put a false moustache on?
Well, I think there was other stuff, but that was the main. She used to have to. That had like a special travelling case, like a flight case for Poirot's moustache, and she'd try it on him, you know, in its various. Try a few on him. I think there was a few of them. It was like Skippy. I think there was 12 Skippies. They used to travel them in knotted sacks in the backs of vans. Cruel in those. You couldn't get away with it nowadays. They have to have 2 keepers for Poirot's moustache. But anyway, you had to try a few on him, and it was a sort of Suchet and C approach. And at the end of the last run, he gave her an enormous moustache. Like
he?
about 4 foot across.
Horrible present.
Yeah. No, but it was like it was made out of card, and he'd signed it and all that. Thank you for looking after my moustache.
Very self-referential, isn't it?
I think it's a beautiful story.
Absolute Radio Frank.
An idiotic eureka moment, something we've had on the show for ages. It's when you suddenly realise, after ages, you suddenly get a joke or a pun or some sort of... The example, like the BT adverts, a woman called BT used to advertise BT. It took me over a year to get that reference.
I realised last year that The Good Life was a pun on Barbara and Tom Good's name. I didn't know that.
In fact, I had one this week.
How was it?
If you walk down Bloomsbury in London, you know London.
Yeah. I like the Samuel Pepys beginning.
Yeah, there's a left-wing bookshop, and it's called Bookmarks, and it only just struck me for the first time this week.
Oh!
Marks.
Yes!
But it's M-A-R-K-S.
Oh, they're not worried about minor details like that.
Yeah, but that's the first time, and it's the first time it's ever struck me that Bookmarks. Are you with me, Alan? You're looking confused.
I am, but I just wonder why they didn't go with the X.
No, exactly. Well, the one that the left-wing garage down the road is called Skid Marks with an X. I got that immediately. I don't. Yeah, they slipped up there. No, go on.
So this
then there's the left-wing supplier of duvet covers, sheets, and pillowcases. Bed linen.
Oh, that's good, Frank.
Someone will open that shop.
895, Russian walking and winter sports, Trotskys.
Trotskys?
Yes.
Trot, I suppose.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one that's just arrived. Communist temping agency, Office Engels. That's good.
Frank, 964, Cuban left-wing petroleum company, Castro Loyal.
This is our best phoning ever. There aren't enough left-wing retail outlet phone-ins on commercial radio.
Absolute Radio Frank.
Alan and I are feeling like you need to get something off your chest this morning.
Yeah, have you got any Vic Vapor on? No, I've been watching intermittently this week, and that's not the name of a new Keira Knightley emotional movie. It's I've been watching Red or Black. Oh yeah. On the I don't know if you're aware of Red or Black. We have actually talked about it on the show before when the original idea was mooted. We talked about what it would be like, but I don't think any of us, for one moment, thought it would be the glimpse through the gates of hell that the programme has turned out to be. I think it's quite significant the colours red and black are the colours of the devil, and indeed Nazi Germany.
Not a fan, then?
I tell you what Simon Cowell has done. He's looked at the success of the X Factor and Britain's Got Talent, and he thought, do we need the talent part of this? Can't we just have like 50-50 guessing? He probably thought, think of the popularity. What's the really popular game? What about heads or tails? Perhaps we could get a theme on that. I'm starting to think that it's made me feel very differently about Ant and Dec. To me now, they represent pure evil.
We're going to need a J-cloth because someone's just spat tea across the studio.
You know, those early flickerings of, you know, the occasional strange viewer phoning and, you know, money going. I thought that was just, it was nothing. I'm now starting to think that Ant could be short for Antichrist. And Dec may be December, you know, the end of days, the dark times. I honestly think that this is a filthy, vile virus at the centre of British society that'll bring us all down. I think Ant and Dec should be hung up like Mussolini and Claretta Petrucci.
Well, we're out of the blocks this morning, aren't we?
Well, you know, I could be wrong.
Absolute Radio Frank.
As you know, I've always been slightly affronted that I wasn't hacked.
Were you not hacked?
No, I took it as an almighty slap in the face. And I've never felt that more keenly than this week when Anne Diamond stepped into the dock, and I thought, well, they couldn't be bothered to hack my phone, but they were queuing up to find out the general tittle-tattle of Anne Diamond.
Oh, no.
I thought, how long has this phone hacking been going on? It's been going on since before there were mobile phones, is all I can...
Yeah.
Absolute Radio Frank.
So look, I'm sorry, I know I'm supposed to be, like, you know, the cynical comedian type about the royal wedding. I was working when the royal wedding was on.
Yeah.
I got home, my girlfriend had taped the ceremony, and then we had a row about the fact that she hadn't taped the balcony kiss. That's how I am about the royal wedding.
That's the best bit.
Yeah, I had a car waiting for me. I had to wait till 4 o'clock news on Sky and see the balcony kiss before I went.
Well, you've got to see the kiss.
Oh, God, both kisses. The first one, I felt it was one of those slightly dry lip kisses, and they said, let's do that again. I was a bit dry-lipped.
They did. Well, Andrew Neil complained about it. He said exactly that. He said, that wasn't long enough. They'll have to do that again. Horrible old uncle.
Oh, the idea of Andrew Neil as I'm going to go over now to Andrew Neil, our kissing expert. Horrible thought.
What were your highlights?
Well, first of all, I think she's a complete babe, Kate. Can I say that? And I mean, she's a strong, independent, modern 21st century woman. I mean, look at that thing when he turned up when she was doing that, when she was coxing the rowing team for the charity rowing race, and he turned up after the split. And she jumped out the boat and swam right across.
That didn't really happen, Frank.
It happened in William and Kate the movie, and I'm seeing that as a kind of a documentary. That's one of the best Sunday afternoons I've ever spent. I was completely not bothered about the royal wedding. I watched William and Kate the movie, and I thought, now, these are my people. I know these people now, they're in my life. And also, Prince William, he had spurs on in Westminster Abbey.
Yes, I noticed
Spurs.
that.
Proper spinning... I imagine him at the party, a bit drunk, 11:30 at night, slicing pizza with his heels.
Absolute Radio Frank.
Yeah, anyway, so I spent the whole evening watching Andy Murray.
Oh, I watched some of that.
Well, the whole nation... The BBC One virtually closed down for Andy Murray. And there's a bit... Every now and again, Sue Barker would come in and explain that if you'd just tuned in for a certain programme, it wasn't happening.
Like 1983, Sue
Yeah.
Barker. I'm glad she still gets the work, Frank.
I love Sue Barker.
Yeah.
There's a bit where she said, if you've tuned in expecting to see EastEnders, maybe you should reevaluate your life. It's Friday night. You've tuned in especially... Oh, I mean, OK, if it's on, you can hear people saying, Sue, leave it. No, I know what I'm doing. OK, if it's on, fair enough, watch it. But to tune in specifically, and then to be crestfallen because we're watching a major sporting event. I mean, come on, you people. Sue, leave it. Will you get off my shoulder? It went on like that for ages. But I tell you what, I watched that game, and I'm no expert, but I watched that game. I was on my own. It gave me a bit of scope to concentrate and to do a bit of analysis. Mm-hmm. And I am not certain, but I would say I am 99% sure now that Andy Murray's mom and his girlfriend do not get on.
Oh, I love this.
No, I was watching them in the box.
Don't you love a shot of the box? I love that.
I felt there was an iron curtain between old Ma Murray, as I believe she's called on the circuit, and the beautiful model.
Okay.
But there was a bit, you know, that Murray, he's one contribution, really, to popular culture, is to do a little punch with his right hand and go, come on! Mm-hmm. That's all he ever... That's it. I mean, if I was going to do that G myself up a lot, I'd come up with some alternatives. So you could spin them around a bit, occasionally go, oh yes, or ha-ha, and then people are thinking, oh, which one's it going to be this time? I see the fist going, but which one, on the wheel of remarks spinning in his head, where will it stop? It'd be like a fabulous exclamation roulette. But it's always come, and there was a bit when they shot the mom, and the mom obviously feeling, who wants to sit next to a model in the box
Especially not
anyway?
in that pink blazer.
Especially not one who's taken her son away from her after all she's given her entire life. She carried him for 9 months, and ever since has always been putting him as a priority in her life, and now some strumpet turns up and takes him away from her, turning him against her behind her back. And the model does a little punch and goes, come on, like that. Maury's style. And the mother looked absolute... That is our thing! That's our family thing! You come here and you do the little punch and say, come on, who the hell do you... Oh, it was a tense moment.
Absolute Radio Frank.
WFW has been in the news. Who's that, Frank?
Oh, that's the world's fattest woman.
I thought that was that de Klerk guy.
Yes, but this is quite a happy story.
Is she in any way tied in with BFM? There was a regular character on
I
this show.
sincerely hope not.
Britain's fattest man.
Britain's fattest man, we should explain.
No, but he no longer... Alex...
he should have his own radio station, just called BFM. For Britain's fattest man. He'd be all right as well as you could just wheel him from microphone to microphone. Carry on.
Pauline Potter... weighs...
I just that's the right name for the world's fattest woman, isn't it? Pauline Potter. It just sounds right. She can't even potter. She can't get out of bed anymore.
Can't potter about? Oh, yeah, that's good.
Well, apparently it's made her relationship's back on track. Her ex-husband says he can't resist her now. He says she's dynamite in bed.
Well, I don't know if she's dynamite. It's more like napalm.
He said, I'm desperate to be her lover and caretaker again. Which I think is quite strange, romantic.
Did he get one of those brown overalls?
Yeah, he's a caretaker.
Oh dear, my dad was a school caretaker. We couldn't move for ISL toilet paper and an Ajax in our house.
And neither can her ex-husband.
No, I shouldn't think so.
One of her legs weighs more than he does.
Yeah.
How did they...
If he were made of gold.
How well do you know someone where you can say, I'll tell you what, shall we... Pauline, what about we weigh one of your legs tonight? She was all right with that. And what about one of your upper arms? Come on, get that on. Hold on, let's get a pen and paper. We'll do you in sections, and then we'll add it up and see if they come to 52 stone. What if they don't? That'll be bizarre. That's the kind of fun they have at home. He's 11 stone, the husband.
Yeah.
He's 11 and she's 52. Does he call her his other half? Or does he call her his other 5/6?
Absolute Radio Frank.
I settled down to watch Britain's Got Talent, and Kath came back with a cup of tea, and it looked a bit of an odd collar to me, and also there was a knife in it.
Oh dear!
There was a knife.
Sort of Don Corleone.
Exactly. I mean, what was it? Some sort of veiled threat?
Was the blade facing upwards, or?
Yeah, no, the blade was in, and the handle
I
was
think
sticking
that's
out.
what he did to potential victims. Honestly, I've heard something like that. It's a mafia thing. Honestly.
If you can imagine a very domestic version of the sword in the stove. It was like that. And it was one of those knives, I don't know what the official name is, but the one that you'd use for butter spreading.
A butter knife, yeah?
Yeah. Is that what they're called? Because
Yeah.
you don't want a very
Butter
sharp
knife,
knife. You don't want a sharp, especially if it's a serrated edge. I don't know if you've ever spread butter with a serrated edge knife. It looks like a ploughed field, the sandwich. I feel I should be eating raw vegetables on it. So anyway, and then when I tasted it, I said, this tastes strange. And I thought maybe there was something left on the knife. Maybe it's just in soak, the knife. She said, I thought I'd use up the UHT. Now, I've just spent £150 at the supermarket. Can I say, I've had 3 Sony nominations, I've got my own TV show, I have international representation, I have to come home, I have to drink tea made with UHT from a mug that I have to stir with a knife? This was the nature of my speech. It was like Look Back in Anger with Richard Burton. I gave an enormous rags to riches impassioned speech. I have fought my guts out to get away from drinking UHT that I have to stir with a knife. And off it, I was absolute.
Oh, you
I was
were
a
off.
martyr.
You were off like the horse at the wedding.
Oh, man, it was. Is that going to become a new phrase?
How come you had UHT in the house?
Well, exactly. And the whole idea of I wanted to use it up. Like, you know, UHT, it ain't going nowhere. Let's face it. We could have said that'll do when we had people around at Christmas, and the UHT would have been all right.
Frank, 437, she was making you a knife cup of tea.
Celebrating Frank Skinner's 60th birthday. Absolute Radio Frank.